Miles Modesto strolled into the old warehouse at the edge of town, wearing an Italian suit and his trademark calm smile. Years had passed since that frantic afternoon at the First Savings Bank. At that time, he'd been sweating bullets behind a mask with Fuego at his side, two adrenaline-fueled partners in crime. Now the warehouse served as a distribution hub for Modesto import and export, a legitimate business built in part upon stolen cash. In the dim overhead light, a tall figure waited for him. Miles halted, breath catching in his throat. A voice echoed across the empty space. "Well," said Fuego, stepping from the shadows. "Been a while, partner." Miles's eyes flicked to the door, uncertain if he should run or stand his ground. "How'd you get out?" he asked. "Dug my way out with a spoon," Fuego replied bitterly. Then he laughed. "Not really, let's just say it was my lucky day. I'm here to collect what's mine." "You think I kept it in a safe?" Miles spread his arms wide. "Every penny's been reinvested, and the cops were sniffing around for years. I had to funnel everything into the business to avoid detection." Fuego's scowl deepened. "You left me in that cell, abandoned me. 5 years of my life gone." Miles exhaled slowly. "I never wanted to leave you behind, but the cops were right outside. I had to save it." Fuego swallowed hard, remembering every lonely hour in his cramped cell. "I deserve my share." Miles struggled to hide his pity. "Look, I can't hand you a bag of cash, but I want to make amends. I'll give you a position here." Fuego raised an eyebrow. "A position?" "Starting in the warehouse," Miles said. "Lower level stuff. Eventually, if you show you can be trustworthy." "Lower level?" Fuego's voice cut like a knife. "That's what I get for keeping my mouth shut for 5 years." "It's honest work," Miles answered. "It'll put you back on your feet. I've got a family now. I can't risk—" "Your family?" Fuego clenched his fists, trembling. "Maybe I should pay them a visit." Miles glared. "Don't you dare go near them." Fuego turned and left, footsteps echoing in the empty warehouse. He felt humiliated by Modesto's insulting offer. The man who'd once been his partner, and who had walked off with all their stolen fortune, was now tossing him a crumb. A job, a second chance, like an act of charity. Fuego couldn't tell which enraged him more, Modesto's condescension or his own shame for needing anything from him at all. Modesto's family lived in a sunlit villa just outside the city. The yard was full of lush bougainvillea vines. A high iron gate concealed the manicured garden. Fuego watched from a distance at first, disguised under a baseball cap. Inside, Lupita Modesto, Miles's wife, sat sipping iced tea. Beside her, Piña, the young stepdaughter, laughed softly at something Lupita had said. Fuego snuck around back, searching for an open window. He found Piña singing to herself on the side porch, barefoot in the grass, braiding her hair. A single orange blossom was pinned behind her ear. Fuego hovered, unsettled by the flutter in his own chest. He was here for revenge, and yet Piña was radiant. Something about her made him forget, at least for a moment, every bitter feeling he harbored. He cleared his throat, stepping forward. She startled. "Who are you?" she demanded, defensive but curious. He removed the cap, his dark eyes intense. "Just someone looking for your stepfather. I used to know him." Piña frowned, glancing around to see if anyone was near. "Miles doesn't like surprises. If he finds you out here, he'll be angry." Fuego took a step closer. "I can handle that." She tried to look stern, but her youth betrayed her. "You should leave or wait until he comes home." Before Fuego could answer, Lupita called from inside. Piña gave him a warning glance, then rushed into the house. Fuego lingered, uncertain, the heat of the moment coursing through him. Something tugged at him, a feeling he couldn't quite name. He backed away from the house, deciding to bide his time. A few weeks passed. Fuego took the low-level job at Modesto Import and Export, if only to stay close to the man he intended to destroy, and to stay close to Piña. While the labor was menial, it gave him opportunities to slip into Modesto's office, rifle through records, and see just how deeply the old partner's investments ran. Surprisingly, Miles often left after hours for business dinners, giving Fuego space to poke around. It wasn't purely about the money anymore. Piña was often at the warehouse, bored after college, helping with small administrative tasks. Fuego would catch glimpses of her in the hallway or laugh at a joke she made. He found himself drawn to her youthful spirit, her optimism. He felt guilty for it sometimes, but it grew stronger by the day. Piña, for her part, seemed equally intrigued by the rugged ex-con who lurked among the crates. Late one afternoon, she asked him softly, "Why does Miles hate you so much?" He paused, eyes flickering with old wounds. Your stepfather and I, we have a past. You robbed a bank with him, Piña said. Fuego's eyes widened. She continued. He won't say it outright, but I'm not an idiot. Something happened that landed you in jail instead of him. Fuego nodded slowly, more impressed than surprised by her insight. Miles doesn't forget his grudges, Piña said. He'd never let me marry a man he despises. Fuego frowned. Marry? She flushed. I didn't mean... Sorry. It's just, he's so protective. You know how fathers are. For a fleeting moment, Fuego imagined an impossible future. He forced himself back to reality. He's proud, he'll never forgive me. Then why are you staying? She asked gently, taking a step closer. He studied the soft curve of her face. Because there's one thing left in this world I want even more than revenge. And I need to know if it's real. Piña's breath caught in her throat. Then stay. Word soon reached Miles Modesto that Fuego and Piña were growing close. Miles saw the way Piña's smile lit up whenever Fuego passed by. He noticed their hushed conversations, the secret glances. One evening, as Miles and Lupita prepared dinner, he finally snapped. I want him gone, Miles seethed, carving into a roast. No daughter of mine is going to be anywhere near that man. Lupita's gaze flickered with concern. What if Piña loves him? That's not love, Miles snarled. Fuego's just trying to get back at me. He knows I care for Piña. He's trying to steal her from me like the money I stole from him. Your daughter isn't property to be stolen, Miles, Lupita said quietly, though she was trembling with uncertainty. Miles dropped the carving knife with a clatter. I'm ending it. That night, in the deserted courtyard outside the villa, Fuego waited. Piña had slipped him a note during the day, asking him to meet her under the arbor. She'd bring 2 small suitcases, she said, and they could leave for someplace far away, some new city. It was rash, dangerous, and Fuego realized it was exactly what he wanted. A chance to start over for both of them. Moonlight shone on the white arches, vines crawling overhead. In the shadows stepped Miles Modesto, not Piña. You think you can take my stepdaughter and run? Miles's voice was thick with rage. Fuego clenched his fists. She asked me to go, I didn't force her. You used to be my partner in crime. Now you want to be part of my family? Miles advanced, jaw set. She's not going anywhere. Fuego took a trembling breath. She's not a child. She wants a life away from your paranoia and your pride. She has the right. Does she have the right to know you spent 5 years in a cell plotting revenge against me? Miles spat. You think that just goes away? I don't want revenge anymore, Fuego admitted. I just want her. Miles let out a low growl. I'll never allow it. A flicker of movement. Piña appeared behind her stepfather, eyes wet with tears. You can't stop me, Miles. He turned in shock. Go back inside. She stood her ground. I'm done letting you control my life. Both men faced each other, tension rising like a coil about to snap. The years of betrayal, regret, and anger loomed between them. Piña reached for Fuego, trembling. It doesn't have to end like this, she said, voice shaking. Miles glared at them, fists clenched. Memories of the day Fuego got dragged off by the cops swirling in his mind. How simple it would be to call the authorities right now. Finish what he started years ago. And yet he felt that same fear, the old dread of losing something he cherished, his pride, his stepdaughter. 2 shots rang out across the courtyard. No one knew who fired first. In the moonlit darkness, the only certainty was that, one way or another, the cycle of betrayal was nearing its inevitable end. Piña's scream echoed through the villa, overshadowing the pounding of footsteps as servants rushed outside. Whether that night ended in tragedy or a final push toward forgiveness hung in the night air, unspoken and raw, and in the stillness that followed, all 3 stood at the edge of a reckoning none of them knew how to escape.